Welcome back, everybody, to It's a DARMAR podcast. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, now is the time. Today, I have an amazing guest. His name is still Freitag. I hope I'm pronouncing it good. And he
Yes.
is a concept designer that I have been following for some time. He is freaking amazing, guys. I love his work. It's very fresh and new. And I'm always saying, where is the people who do this kind of stuff that do something fresh out of the box and doesn't look like everybody else in the industry? Welcome, Till. Thank you for joining me.
Hi. Yeah, thanks for having me on the podcast.
It's my pleasure. I want to dissect your brain a little bit, not in a bad way. I just want to know who you are, where you come from, and how we will come later to my second question. But please introduce yourself, who you are.
Yeah, I'm Till. I'm a concept designer. I'm based in Germany, in Berlin, and yeah, I'm originally I studied game design, and I'm working in a game development company as a indie game developer with two of my friends, and we just released our first game. But I'm also like a classic concept artist, and I've been freelancing for 2 years as a side hustle, you could say.
Okay.
Yeah, and it has been great. Yeah,
You, how old are you? That's my first question.
I'm 26 years old.
You're young. You're young. I'm old. I'm very old. I'm getting old. That's the problem. People
Nah,
don't know
you
that
don't
I'm
look old.
35. I look younger, but I'm 35. Good genetics and yoga does the thing. When I saw your work, when I saw your work, as I said in the introduction, it was completely different from anything I saw. And it was very flamboyant, differently aesthetic. It was very playful. And I always say that the design needs to be playful, not stiff. How
Hmm.
did that evolve? How did you go in that direction? That's what I want to know.
Mm, yeah, that's also. I mean, I would say I'm a very intuitive designer. So there are people that are like super analytical and they can explain everything. And I'm coming more from the intuitive side, I would say, and I'm trying to get into the analytical part. But yeah, I guess I'm inspired by organic shapes, bionic stuff, and also like car design, like originally, and that is also sometimes very fluid and very, um, yeah, organic
Yeah,
to some degree.
it's very organic. Das Auto, as Germans would like to say. That's the thing. There is
Yeah,
something very special about the German cars. There is something in the connection between German people and the cars. It's very, very, very same as Italians and their cars. Germans love their cars. So you like organic shapes. That's what appeals you.
yeah, and it's also, I would say, about blending everything together, making everything harmonic, finding a good balance, and also a balance that you would maybe find in nature. Yeah, but it also has its limitations, I would say. But that's something else. That's something
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
get flagged for stuff by art directors, but yeah,
Really,
Mm.
it happens. It
yeah,
happens.
yeah. I mean, it is not often that a project needs this kind of style. So I'm adjusting
I'm
my stuff.
sure that they will need very soon, and somebody will discover you. I'm sure that will be like, we want to make something completely this style because it's very fresh. I tell you, it's very
Oh,
fresh.
thank you.
It's very different, and that's what the industry needs. And I want to know, what did you studied game design, but we all know that design is everything outside of the university. That's how you learn it. It's never on the university. You get the technical side there, but what gets that kind of different design is your personality, how you experience the world, what you explored. What did young Teal explore when he was younger?
Mm. So I don't know. I always kind of from a very early age, I was always drawing stuff, and um, I would say I'm like every little child. I'm most inspired or most the most attention is dragged towards vehicles and actually like vehicles and contraptions that do a lot of stuff like firefighters, police, construction site equipment, all this kind of stuff, and also boats and cars. There's a lot of stuff is happening, a lot of movement, and it's kind of easy to comprehend. It's not like biology or something that it's not as approachable, I'd say. Um, yeah, and I would say this is how I got into it, and then I was always designing, coming up with like shapes, trying to figure out good balances of shapes, like especially in boats and stuff. You have like, or in cars, there's a very distinct balance of shapes, distinct balance of hierarchy, and yeah, that's my explanation. I don't.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's your life. You're explaining yourself. I like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I'm
how
trying to
did
figure out why I'm doing the stuff I'm actually doing.
really you're still in that stage where you're figuring it out? For example, me, how I went. I went from cutting completely intuition in the beginning of my career, completely cutting it out. I think it
Mm,
was a good thing that it happened like that. And I was super analytical because I wanted to know how everything works. And once I
mm.
nailed the fundamentals, I went back and put my intuition back and my personality in my projects. But before that, I was more of a technical guy because I wanted to know when somebody asks me something so I can present them. But I guess there are other ways also because you're making amazing art by just doing intuition. Some people just have it in them. Some people just have it in them.
Yeah, yeah, I see where you, what you mean. It's not like I'm not analyzing what I'm doing at all, but really explaining it in depth and trying to figure out like, why does this kind of stuff work? Why is this an aesthetically pleasing? Uh, exactly, to break it down. And also, I'm currently working on something for other people, and I'm now forced to break down, why do I do this, and actually to, because it's super useless, like uh, for other people, you can't explain intuition. Like it's like, okay, draw this a thousand times or something, and then it's going to turn out great or whatever. There's no way of explaining it, but I want to provide some value in the form of an analytical breakdown of what I'm doing, and I'm really happy to figure it out in depth. Yeah, but you seem to yeah, I can see that you dive deep into the analytical rabbit hole and figured everything out. That's something that
Yeah, yeah.
surely reflects. Yeah,
I dive deep in everything. That's why I have always broken heart. That's how it goes, you know. When you dive too deep, you have a broken heart. Maybe that's why I'm wearing red
no,
today. Who knows?
yeah,
But okay, I saw your project. I remember the first time you came on my radar. It was the big vehicle that looked like a whale, and
yeah.
I loved it. It was totally different. It had multiple panels on it. It had aesthetics. There was a different style of drawing. Who did you watch when you were learning? Who was your inspiration? Uh, any specific artists and so on? Can you explain me about that a little bit?
Um, I mean, there are a bunch of artists that I really admire. So there's, for example, Darren Bartley and Sparth and um, Brian Sum, and
Okay.
I mean the list goes on. And there, but um, yeah, I tend to watch like people who are actually pushing the design to its maximum clarity and really trying to communicate everything. And that's also what I'm trying to do with my pieces. Because I don't have like an interesting brush technique, or like it's like this technical execution part is like not what I'm just trying to get on a level that achieves that everything is communicated as good as possible, and also all the shapes, all the materials, all the details, the 3 dimensions, like that works from every angle, maybe also animation and stuff. Yeah, but this one is especially influenced by so there's like the Yamato battleship, like the Japanese battleship, that this giant piece, and it has very interesting organic curves, and battleships also have this super interesting structure and distribution of shapes and stuff. And then there's this guy who made the space Yamato. I think it's Makoto Kobayashi.
Ah, okay,
And
Kobayashi.
so this is kind of leaning heavily on his kind of design. But I was like super struck by his design. I think it's just I just freaking love it. And
Yeah,
then I mean it's I would say my approach is more organic and more fluent curves and stuff, and this material treatment and everything. But it heavily leans on the Space Yamato. Yeah.
so you like Kobayashi, you like his style, and then but you develop your style. That's what I'm fascinated. And you like, now I'm starting to understand. You like to push the surfaces to the max, to bend rules as much as possible. I think that car design is crying for you, and I'm very serious when I say that, because they are the people that push the boundaries of the surfaces, and you are doing it really really good. Have you ever considered, when you were starting game design, have you ever considered the car design, or that was not the plan?
Actually, no, but I didn't know. So the university where I studied, they also have automotive design as a subject. So, but I didn't know about it. But they have all kinds of very cool. There's also clothing design, and they come up with the crazy stuff. And like once every year, there's a big show, and everyone shows the projects they've been working on. But yeah, it's not like the university is not a classic university with like a lot of just sitting there and something being taught and you're writing it down and then you write an exam on it. It's more of like also for game design, we always had our own projects, so we were occupied by the projects for most of the semester, and they were in teams of 3 to 5 people, and you had to organize yourself. You came up with your own idea, your own designs, everything. There were like a set of constraints, but so this was also like a non conventional approach to the whole thing, I would say. But
Till
car
which
design, yeah,
university was that? Which university was that?
HTW Berlin. It's
HDW.
it's yeah
Where is it located? Berlin or?
yeah, it's in Berlin. Yeah,
Okay, okay, okay. So they also have car design. Yeah, that
yeah. They
industry is
also have
growing.
automotive design. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So it's automotive. It's not car. They call it automotive because, yeah, okay, okay. It's the same
I'm not too
automotive
sure about
car.
it.
It's the same automotive car. Never mind. I studied vehicle design. Transport. Pardon,
Oh, you
I'm
studied it.
forgetting. Transportation design in Milano.
Ah, maybe that's the name. Maybe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I guess
because
you.
they are changing the names. I don't know, is it to attract the customers or they are implementing their language into it, because auto is the car, transportation, who knows? But it's a good thing, that there are many universities like that. Uh, yeah, I mean, you really do bend the shapes. Now, when you said Brian Sam and you're the first two guys that fall on my mind when I think about great shapes. And what are you working on currently? You are working as a concept designer for clients.
Yes. So my main occupation is with the indie game that pretty much eats up most of my time, and in my spare time, I'm on different kind of projects. But it's also because the stuff that I'm doing is very specific for most projects. It's like only a very minor um, application, and so yeah. Whenever there's a good opportunity, I'm jumping onto a project and doing a little bit of design work for them. But it's mostly like spaceships, weapons, vehicles. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Everything that I like, you do. Everything that I like, for everything hard surface. And when you work, do you bounce between 2D and 3D, or there is a certain step where you stop doing 2D and you just lean into 3D? How does that go?
So that really depends on the client. I'm integrating into their team and their needs, and if the client wants only 3D, then I'm just using 3D. And if something else is needed, so I'm just dynamically adjusting to whatever's needed. But for myself, I'm currently heavy in 2D because it's just um, it kind of gets the ideas that I'm having in my head better across than 3D because, as you know, like your tools shape your end product heavily, and I have the most freedom in 2D. That, of course, doesn't apply to everything. So I wouldn't come out with like super mechanical. industrial design shapes in 2D as much. That's something that would rather achieve in 3D or in Fusion, like in CAD, whatever. Um, but yeah, currently it's more of 2D, and I can bend the rules a little bit. I can treat the surfaces as I want to. I don't have to spend a lot of time designing some sort of materials and coming up with a lighting setup or whatever to make it look like um, what I want to achieve. But yeah, I'm switching between the two. Yeah.
You're bouncing back and forth so you can see if it's functioning and so on.
Uh,
Okay,
I
okay,
mean,
okay.
I recently saw
So
this
they are
meme of
surfaces.
like of like the 2D artist being like, "This is perfect," and then the 3D artist in the next step in the pipeline is like, "Oh my god,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
doesn't
happens.
work."
That's normal. When I was in a car design, I realized that's why I heavily went into 3D later. Is that when you sketch something, it loses completely 30-40% the transitioning to 3D and then to the clay,
Mm,
and eventually you don't even get a car that looked like a beginning sketch, even though render actually not a sketch. Sketch never looks like a car, but you get something completely different. And I was like, I need to cut the time here to cut it
mm,
completely, and so the functions work in everything. I see that
mm.
you have drums behind you. You play
Yeah,
music. That's
yeah. I
your
play the
any
drums.
hobbies? Hobbies is music. Anything else?
Um, Yeah, so I'm just because I'm sitting like on the PC the whole time. I look like a fucking goblin, and so
Like this.
so like, bend over like so I need some sport and some this something different, something away from the screen. So I'm like every single person in Berlin. I'm bouldering, and
Okay.
and what else? I was skating a lot last year, but I kind of uh, discontinued. Super frustrating kind of sport. Like it's a super try hard sport, but yeah, I'm playing the drums also just for myself, and I don't have like I feel like zero pressure when doing sports and doing music because I don't have to improve necessarily. I just need to have fun. And I recently picked up a street trials bike. So I'm so if I'm sitting here with a broken arm in like 1 or 2 months, that's the reason why.
Okay, I hope that won't happen. I hope that won't
Yeah, yeah,
happen.
I hope so too.
Yeah,
As long as I don't hit
don't
my
look
head.
so dark at the future. I hope that you will be
No,
enjoying
no,
not
no,
breaking.
no, no. It's a lot of fun actually. I'm super hyped on that. It's yeah, I don't know. It's like BMX, but not as BMX with brakes, basically.
Yeah, when you said now skateboarding, I used to drive rollerblades when I was a kid. I was doing
Mm.
tricks and everything, spinning. And skate for me, for example, was a complete nightmare. I never understood it. I never figured it out. Never balanced my legs. So for me, that's like a dark magic, literally, when you're riding a skateboard because it's hard. It's really, really hard. Maybe
Yeah, it's
rollerblades are
super
also,
hard.
but they were much easier for
Mm.
me. I could do 360 flips and stuff like that.
Oh,
But dark
same.
magic is skateboard, and everybody who drives a skateboard is a magician for me.
Yeah, I mean, then there are many magicians in Berlin, but yeah,
I
no, it's a
was
lot
in
of fun.
Berlin. I was there. I saw that a lot of you do that. I was there on the conference, and while I was walking on the streets, I was checking out. It reminded me the eastern part. It reminded me a lot of Belgrade. I literally had flashbacks that I'm back in my city because
Mhm.
literally the blocks on the street were the same and so on. Very very strange feeling.
Yes,
And but I saw a lot of skateboarding, and it was fascinating to
yeah,
me. A
yeah. It's
lot.
also fascinating to me because, yeah,
How did that
um,
happen?
what
The
skateboarding or
skateboarding. How did you choose skateboarding? Because it was everybody doing it, or
no, a friend of mine was skating, so I did like an internship, actually for an internship for Mercedes Benz, but not as a designer, more of a just as a game design kind of. But yeah, I picked it up, and it was a lot of fun. It's also super creative. It's not like this kind of linear sport. You're not trying to go fast. You can express yourself while skateboarding, and there's a lot of stuff to discover, and so that's super fascinating for me, and that's also why I like this kind of like street trials. I mean, I just recently picked it up, but I hope there's also some style expressive kind of thing in the future when you know the basics. And yeah, skating is like super fun, and it's also pushing you hard, so it's also super addictive, but also super frustrating because there's like one day you get the trick. So in skateboarding, it's not like you did it one time and then it's perfect. Like for a concept art piece, like you just have to pull it off like one time and then it's there forever. But in skating, you just you're falling back. You have to do it routinely, and there's no guarantee. Like you landed a trick once, there's no guarantee you will ever land it again. And having a trick on lock is like the that feels great, but it's kind of hard to get there. And
Okay.
you're hurting yourself constantly. It's like really bad on the body. It's like super shit for all your
Yeah.
ankles and your shins and your. I mean, I never hit my head, but I had
Good.
some
Good.
crashes. Yeah, I was landing on my back a couple of times, like while
Yeah.
attempting a grind or something, and I just slipped away, and yeah.
I worked when there was Corona. I worked with one of the most famous skaters in the world, Jaws Homoki, and I have
Hmm.
his board behind me. You can see it; it's on the here somewhere, but you can see it. He signed it for me and sent it to
Nice.
me. I was super happy when I
That's
saw
sick.
it. And I hear from what you say, I'm starting to figure out who you are, what you do, that you are very expressive, and that you like that intuitive side to get out. Uh, when you're working on a project, what is the hardest for you when you are designing? What is the easiest for you? Which part you enjoy, which part you despise? Because all of our artists, so there is a step in the design which we would like gladly avoid, but we can't because everything will fall apart. So what do you enjoy the most? Let's start with that, in that process from
Mm,
the sketch to the final.
Okay, guys, welcome back. Till is still here with one day later. I apologize to you, Till, because we had drilling in the middle of the podcast. They started to drill here across the apartment, and we had to stop. I'm really sorry for that, but it's good because now we organize something new and fresh. Welcome back, Till.
hi, welcome
I'm sorry for
back. Yeah,
yesterday.
to me.
I'm
Hmm?
really, really sorry. I'm really
No,
sorry
no
for
worries.
yesterday. So we talked about yesterday when we started and everything. We talked. I started to pick your brain a little bit, talk about that great creativity that you have in your style. And today we said that we can show some of the work to people and we talk and discuss because it would be better to show them visually. Is that okay with you?
Yes,
Let's do it
absolutely.
then. Everything is ready. The screen is yours or the stage is yours, and I would like to
Yeah,
know everything.
yeah. This is just like I always have some personal side projects going on just to be create like have full creative freedom, and it's a lot of fun for me. And like this is like some of the stuff that I did this year as a side project, and it's always a lot of fun to me exploring like different workflows and refining my workflow and how I approach things and design skills. So yeah, I mean some of this stuff I already uploaded, but other things are still like work in progress. So for example, I recently did this set of helmets that was a lot of fun, and now I still have like some other ideas for helmets that I really want to push. And yeah, I got like tons of designs floating around, and like 10 projects or something simultaneously, and I always do something and then I let it rest and then come back with a fresh view to continue on that. But yeah, this year has been a lot of props and weapons because like for professional work I always have to do so many weapons, so I figured I
Yeah.
might as well dive into that because it really needs some like specialized some focus on that. So these were like just some random pistols and like this kind of bone style that I also had in some other artworks. And then there's I figured I might as well create a whole set of it, and like with a sniper rifle and an AR and like different kinds of stuff. And these orange guns I already showed. But yeah, I mean, it's hard. For weapons, I always tend to do like the same kind of trigger, the same kind of lower receiver. And for me, it's hard to switch it up and to come up with something really original. And people who are like purely focused on guns, they have, it comes more easily to them to vary things and also have like a good ergonomic on the weapon. So that's kind of hard to pull off for me, but I'm trying to improve.
However, the shapes are going really easy for you. I can see that you're really making some very unique shapes, and they're very cool work. I really love it. And
Thanks.
what is fascinating to me now, when you mentioned you're doing mostly weapons, and that's interesting because I also do weapons. People don't even realize that how many weapons I do for projects I work last. For projects I had to design weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Weapons are the most needed asset in the games because there is no game without them, literally, especially hard one. You have props, vehicles, and weapons, but weapons are mostly. And it's an interesting thing when I see ArtStation. I open it, and there is always that top row that everybody is aiming for to go, so everybody will see them. And I realized two things 3 years ago, four, that the most liked projects on ArtStation are two. One is characters, because people resemble with them, but the second one is weapons. Weapons always have the most likes, the most reach, and everything, which is again strange because artists and designers are mostly pacifists that don't like war or anything. I mean, nobody likes war.
Yeah, I can totally agree. I mean, I hate violence. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody hates violence. I not everybody. There are always psychopaths that like it.
Yes.
But it's very interesting to me because artists are known to be pacifist, and then there are guns everywhere. We are designing them and doing it like that. It's such an interesting point when you look at it like that. And your stuff is amazing. Again, we have some sirens this time.
Yeah,
It's
sorry,
good.
I might as well close the window. I have like a fire department right next to me. It's kind of.
So you live next to fire department. Okay, yesterday drills, today fire sirens.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are on a roll, but it's very interesting. Your shapes on the guns and the weapons, they are very, very cool. Especially,
Thanks.
I love the orange and the purple gun. How you made the top scope go like this, like it's a boat, and it goes to the front, and it's very interesting to me to see these shapes. People don't use them, and you're pushing them. However, what I want to ask you now is, how do you start? Can you show us maybe your starting sketch? Because I saw on the top that your sketch of the helmets, I saw it is a sketch. It's very messy, but everything is there. You even have the graphics on them already. Which part of the stage is this in your process?
Yeah, so this would be not the very earliest stage, but yeah, my process kind of like a year or 2 years ago, I used to always come up with line work or maybe a silhouette and then evolve from that. But it was kind of tedious for me, at least. I think it's like really, really annoying. And I now have a workflow that is it is like a lens that focuses, and in the beginning it's very muddy, but I try to tackle everything simultaneously. So I want to include the silhouette. I want to include the surface, like the three-dimensionality. So I need values in there. That's something that I can't cover with like line work. So I want values. I also want material. I also want graphics design. Values, of course, also because I want to really find out where the focus point should be. And so I'm trying to combine everything simultaneously and just top up the resolution and arrange the shapes. So there are like millions of iterations in those designs. Like they go through a lot of steps, but it's like the resolution increases, and eventually I'll end up with something. I would say like the worst thing about it is, like, for me, I struggle with silhouette and also big, medium, small shape distribution. Like for some designs, I tend to lean on medium shapes a lot, but that's also something that you can fix with this kind of workflow. You can always just, at any stage, you can just rearrange things without losing a lot. And you can also recycle some elements very easily, as long as you keep like in the same style. You can use a surface that you already rendered to a certain degree and just reuse it and edit some values. And for me, it's very efficient, this way of working. And I stepped away from doing line work. I mean, these are based on line work, but I tend to lose the overview of three-dimensional forms. And when it comes to more complex forms, I mean, how are you supposed to capture this with line work, like, or even a more complex shape? Like in this one, there's no. I mean, I'm including the segmentation that can indicate the surface orientation, but there's no way for me to capture this with line work, this kind of shape. So I need to rely on values very early. And for me,
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen your projects. I mean, your. By the way, I just checked out your workflow with the F1 car, and it's it seems insane to me. Like going from ZBrush to Fusion, it's super sick. I mean, it's.
Thank you, Till. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's different. I'm trying a new workflow. Thank you for mentioning that. I'm trying a new workflow. I didn't see anybody ever do it like that.
Yeah, maybe you
And
should do a tutorial for everyone, like to catch up.
yeah, I'm creating it. I'm in the middle of making it. That helmet that you see behind me also from my
Yeah.
Inside 4 story was done like that, but it was from solids. And this time I said that was my next question for you, but let me just wait. When you said about it, let me just finish and tell the story. I did it with solids. It was also ZBrush and that solids in Fusion 360. And this
Nice.
time I said, I want to see if there is a possibility I make this as a CAD model in Fusion 360, but I don't lose the ZBrush cool details because it's very hard. And my brain was fried because it's going from art to technical all the time. And it's very hard, but it was very rewarding at the end. It was very organic, very cool. And I loved how the Red Bull F1 turned out. And that's what I wanted to ask you. Your shapes are like that on my F1 formula, probably even cooler because there is more of them and so on. But which 3D you use? Do you use ZBrush when you're designing, or is there any time that you use a 3D as a base for this?
No. I I mean, of course, I'm using 3D to some degree, but I don't have like this regular workflow of having a model and then coming like using it as a base and also with lighting and stuff. I mean, I used to do this workflow in other pieces, and it's also something that I do more for client work. But for these ones, I don't use any kind of 3D base. But it's also, I mean, I used to model a lot, and also this year I had like one gig with a client where it was basically just 3D and bashing everything together like super hacky in Blender, and that was like purely no 2D at all. Maybe some fixing up in Photoshop, but nothing else. But for these ones, I don't use 3D. But it would be kind of useful in some regards, just to get like the more artificial shapes, I would say, or the more everything that needs to be in line, and for like perfect perspective and stuff. 3D would be very useful, but otherwise it would just cost too much time, because those are super quick. Like I can, like those ones I can. It's very easy for me to do something like this quickly, but in 3D it would take longer for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I completely understand. They're great. Great. How long does it take you? Let's take one sketch from here. You decide which one you like the most. Let's say the first one, I don't know, whichever works for you. How long does it take you from the beginning to the final render that you present here?
I mean, there are like multiple steps. Like for this one, for example, I first did the design of this kind of gun itself, but I had to come up with like the design language, and this takes a lot of iterations, like until you're happy. But this is more that has different constraints and more dependencies in different areas. Like coming up with the design language But once that is established, I can easily extrapolate it because I know all the shape language things. Like I know the rule set of this one, so I can extrapolate it to different kinds of designs, and then it's kind of easy to come up with the surfaces. So yeah, but coming up with the design itself, I mean, this can of course take longer. And when you're working like with a client, of course they need to get you need to implement their feedback and react to them, and because they can't sometimes it takes longer because they have something in their minds, and you need to find it, you need to just come up with a lot of variations. But yeah, I can't really put like an hour, like can't say that, like this is 16 hours or something, and this is like coming up with this thing itself takes a little bit longer, but then moving from this to this only takes a few hours, I would say. Or like switching up like a big shape in there and moving some stuff around, of course, doesn't take that long. Yeah, so
the longest part is going from the initial to the first render, and then later you can recycle it, use the parts and so on. That's how what you want to say, right?
Yes, yeah, it's like in 3D Kitbash library kind of approach.
But how long does it take you to come to that final render? 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, 3 days?
Oh no. Like I would say, if I was really, if I were to sit down and just do it like the whole time, maybe like 2 days or something, it doesn't take that long. So depending on like the finish and stuff, but that means there's already like a rule set established, like I'm using those materials and those kind of shape language, and if there's like a pool of ideas that I can just tap into and apply and make some variations out of it, it's goes very quick, because you also have your whole values are defined, your materials are defined. But of course, like in 3D, it would be very easy to vary the materials on this one. This is like the restriction of 2D. I can't just throw a different material onto there. So if you were to change the reflectiveness of this material, I'll be fucked. Or if you like having a different, like this is where it gets painful, like for clients. Like if you need a single view, 2D is fine, but if you need multiple views, and how does the scope look like? How does it look from this angle? How, like, then you need a 3D model, of course, because otherwise it's just not feasible to do all of this in 2D, only to find out that your design needs to be changed and all those angles need to be redone. So this is where this is really where it depends on what the client needs, and what kind of views they need, and so on. Yeah. But one thing that is also like, I guess one of your main topics is like, I don't know how you deal with decals and stuff, but for me, sometimes a decal changes the whole design, or a paint job can mix up everything. So this is also something that I kind of like to include early on, like where the spaces where I can maybe have a decal or have a symbol, and what's the material distribution, because it's so impactful on the final design. It's like, like putting stripes on a car completely changes the car, even though the shape didn't change. So
absolutely agree. Absolutely. I mean, if you ask me about my workflow, I go through steps. So I don't go with everything. I go through steps. But I realized that somewhere around the middle of the project, when I start to render in 2D, let's say, or in 3D, I have specific in my head when it's time to render it, to make details and stuff. So those medium to small. That is the moment when I need to decide how many stickers will I have on this, because if I don't, and I have no clue how many stickers I have, I'm just gonna put them there. It loses completely the point. Why? Because I can over detail the design and then put a sticker, and it's gonna cover the details, and there is no logic. Absolutely no logic in the design. So it has to be clean around middle stage, and immediately to ask my client, how many stickers are we putting? Are we putting them? And so on. When it's for personal projects, in recent years, I have played I would decide, okay, let's make one where I'm thinking immediately with the stickers and the second one with the details. And it's so interesting when you see how much, as you said, and I completely agree, the sticker changes everything. If it's positioned bad, it's a horrible design.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, I totally agree. And
they make or break the design, definitely make or break the design. And for me, it's super cool to see. I mean, what I love about your, when you're showing this slide, what I love about your sketches, and these are sketches, is that your balance between values. Amazing. It's really amazing, the balance between black, white on the image. The colors are also great, but the balance between black and white is what appeals the most to me. How you do it, it so easily describes the design.
You mean like the clarity is high, you mean, or
very high level of clarity, which many designers struggle with.
Yeah, but that's, I would say, like, I mean, if that's what this looks like to you, I guess that's it's nice for me to hear, because it's also something I'm heavily aiming for, because I want to every part of the design to communicate as good as possible, like the most clarity, the most definition possible. Yeah, just so it can express, like, if you come up with these complex surfaces also, like on your F1 car, you come up with them, and then you also want to have a treatment that fully embraces the shapes and really shows them. And you want the people to be able to appreciate the shapes. And in 3D, this means you have to have like good lighting, very good materials. Also, I mean, also the kind of paint job that you're using. Like if you're using a very metallic, glossy paint, it can also highlight different aspects of the design. So it's also interesting for me to find out, like, what kind of material highlights the design in the best possible way and gives the most clarity to the person who's watching. And I'm also like, this is something that I've noticed, like, for example, in these designs, I tend to put these kind of lines everywhere that follow the contours of the shape, just to highlight or to communicate as good as possible what this shape is supposed to be. And I want everything to be like 100% comprehensible. And sometimes it's also kind of hard, because like for this one, this isn't finished yet, and that's something I'm currently working on. But this is like how I want this head. In my mind, it's very slim, like from the side, or from the front view, it's very slim, but on the side it looks like super heavy. Like if this was like a cylindric shape, it would be kind of imbalanced, the design. So I also need to find a way of presenting this to in order to communicate this. Like, how can I show from the side that this isn't as big? Yeah. And also, like, the pattern, it also helps to communicate the shape. Sorry.
Absolutely, the pattern helps, but yeah, it looks very heavy from the side, and then I see the sketch down, and I love that you are playing with the shapes from thin to thick to thin, and you're playing, and that's really good exercise for everybody. Anybody who's watching this stream and want to improve their designs, it's a great exercise, and you're pushing it to the boundaries, literally, which I love. I really love.
Thanks. I mean, yeah, I mean, there are different opinions floating around, like, because like my tendency with those kind of designs is to put everything in kind of so I'm trying to push myself to really go extreme on the shapes. Like, I mean, this neck is kind of long, but it could be long, it could be more extreme, and maybe that would benefit the design. And also here it's like very medium shape heavy, and it's also, if you compare the distances, like this arm is as long as this one, and the top part is as long as this one, and it's something that I do subconsciously, and that's not that makes the design sometimes more boring. Like, it is, I would say, better if you, I mean, some repetition in the design might be good, and some recalls to existing design elements, but it's something I'm trying to I'm trying to push and really coming up with an interesting silhouette on those ones. And but I subconsciously try make every distance the same. So this one also fits into a box, but it could be more extreme. It could be pushed more to the limit, and that's something that I'm trying to improve. And but this is something that I mean, in helmets I don't have it as much, but the bigger the vehicle gets, the more is my tendency to 50-50 the design and lean heavily on like medium shapes, and it's something that I pay a lot of attention to currently. Like, this is what I'm working on.
Can I give you advice about that? How you can fix that? It's very easy.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's very easy to fix it. Many of us have some conscience. I'm just older a little bit than you, and I have been playing with it longer. And in the meantime, I figured how to do it because it takes time. It's very simple. What I do, how I manage to do that, so all the shapes are not the same, because when they're the same, it gets boring. It really gets boring for the eye. However, your design is so interesting that you almost don't see them. I did notice them, but almost you don't see them how high quality your surfacing is. So the easiest way for you is to, when you are somewhere in the middle with that, to take and make a small 3D model. But I'm not talking about a detailed 3D model. I'm talking about the 3D model for yourself, which will take around 1 to 2 hours. When you make it and you start to spin, your eye refreshes completely and you will see all the mistakes. Immediately, you will see that what's happening. You spin the model and that will help you. The model doesn't have to have anything. It just needs to have the proportions of the model. It just has to have that. It doesn't have to have anything else, but just those proportions. And then you come back. The second possibility that you can do, I always do it when I'm doing 2D, you flip it upside down, the sketch. Somewhere you flip it upside down. People flip it from one side to other. When you flip it upside down, it refreshes your brain and eye completely. And you take the ruler. Take the real ruler. I really take the real ruler. I would take the pen or the ruler, and I would measure. At one point, your eye will get so skillful at it that you won't need even to measure it. You will just flip it and see it. So flip the image upside down and you will immediately see what's tormenting you. So that's how I approach it. There is a possibility to help you. I hope it can help you.
I mean, the flipping stuff I'm doing, but yeah, that's a nice kind of trick. But yeah, it's sometimes it's really hard to get around those like kind of habits, I would say. Or like, you could also call it preference. I mean, as long as it's intentional, it's okay, I guess. You could also have like a very detail heavy design, as long as it fits into the style, I would say. But yeah, this is something that you definitely want to have like conscious control over, and that's something. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, making a mock-up in 3D is also like a very cool idea. Maybe I should try that.
I think it can definitely help you with that, because surface is amazing. If, people can't even see it, how good your surfaces are, because you need really to get in it to see the proportions and everything.
Absolutely. But yeah, that's something I'm aware of. I mean, I'm sending it to friends. Like I have I use them as like for feedback, and they're really helpful. For example, like Alex Seneschal also gives me very good feedback on all of the, because he's an absolute master, and he immediately spots like the shortcomings of the design, which is super cool. But I guess that's always something, like you have the fresh view on a design as a person who has not looked like tens of hours into this design and delved into like this crack and rendered it. And that's something that's easily lost, like when working a long time on those. But
the great designs can be done but just by one person. There always has to be a fresh eyes there.
Absolutely, yeah. Or I mean, that's like my kind of approach for those designs. Like, I mean, I haven't like those ones I haven't released, and but I have them laying around like in this kind of state or something, and I can easily take like this part and stretch it, or like any kind of part of it, and change the shape on it. And like when I get like this distance from my designs that have been laying around for such a long time, I also can get this fresh view. But it's, I mean, this is like the role of an art director who is who can immediately help you with the design and immediately spot the stuff. But it's not a luxury you always have, like for your personal stuff. Yeah.
You know, the thing is, when you're a designer, when you're a freelance designer, a solo designer like you and me, we always need to be also art directors. That's the thing. There is no, you need to be art director before the art director. So when you give it to him, he has to be happy. That's one of the most unfortunate things. But definitely fresh eyes help. And I like when you said move away from the design, because sometimes I still have problem not to move away from design. I just want to finish. I'm on a roll, and my designs improved quite dramatically when I'm working 8 hours a day, and then I move from them and I just say I don't give a damn anymore. I'm coming back tomorrow. And before that, when I was working on my personal Insight 44 project, I just didn't have that luxury. And because I worked so much and so many designs were pumped out. But definitely refreshing your eyes and brain and arm, because there is eye brain hand connection, is vital. And not just for the burnout, but for the quality of design.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I mean, if you have the luxury to step away from the design, it's fine. But I would say, like for professional application, it's like really depends like on the client, like their workflow. Like sometimes you're very integrated and you have a very short feedback circuit, and you just push a sketch and they're like, okay, let's change this and that. And sometimes you have to come up with the whole package and just pray to the gods that it's going to work. But I mean, yeah, you probably have, like, you've had all the experiences. I mean, I'm fairly fresh to this, but I guess yeah.
Well, you experience everything. You, when the time is right, to experience the worst and the best things. That's how I like to say it. I mean, the industry is quite complex. The clients are quite complex, from the small to big ones, from the elite ones. And I always say I love to work with all of them, because it's a different challenge. It's definitely a different challenge, and everybody has a different. But in recent years, I started, because I can say now that I got to an expert level, I'm starting to put on my rules how I design. And the only thing that I'm worried when I start working with somebody is that I will give a good result. Not how I will get there, but that what we agreed on, that I will give it. That's my only worry currently working with clients.
So that they that you know that they know that you can come up with this, like, so that the client absolutely trusts in your process and your kind of experience level and so on.
Absolutely. Okay. They are always there. They are every step with me there. There is no question. I have a very close relationship with them. But I will very openly tell them when something is not working. When I was before in the industry, I would be like, no, we can go in this direction. It's okay. They are the client and so on. But if I see something that doesn't work, I have so much experience currently, I need to tell them it's my responsibility, because they will lose money and time is money. So it's my responsibility to tell them if something doesn't work.
I mean, yeah, this is some added value of, I mean, this makes you, like, you taking responsibility makes you, like, maybe that's the piece of an expert artist, that this is also like some sort of, maybe some art direction and some responsibility that you carry for them when they hire you. So
yeah. For everybody who's listening to this podcast, from my experience, responsibility is everything in design, and not lying to yourself. Because as we spoke, some designs, they work in 2D, but they don't work in 3D. And you need to figure it out how it will work always. That's the thing for client, because everything is produced today. There is no running away from it. Responsibility is a big thing, and there is no question about it. There is no question about it. But it is maybe a heavier burden on my back. But that's how I decided to roll, because I don't accept the failure. That's however, like, I don't accept failing, so I will die on the job instead of failing.
I mean, maybe that's the reason why you get hired again and again.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Once
Like
they see it,
like
they always.
you can do this kind of stuff one time, and they'll be like, yeah, it's fine, and then but for the next time they're like, oh man, all his sketches didn't work out in 3D. We're not
Yeah,
going to hire this guy again. And but that's maybe also something behind the curtains that you don't necessarily uh, get to know, like from what I'm thinking. Even though you got the good
absolutely true.
feedback on your design, like the direct feedback.
True, true. Responsibility, as you said, is every. Oh, I love that sketch that you post, that you just paste. It's really, really cool. I love it. I love it. Also, the
Like
colors that you use are very interesting to me.
yeah, like these are going to be like some sort of series. So yeah, but this is like a very rough sketch, like just very early
Yeah, now I
stage. And
understand. Now I understand the roughness. That's what I wanted to see. Now I understand how you start. It's a scribble. You literally take a round brush pen and scribble with it, right?
yes, and also trying to define like the values and stuff, and like the material distribution. But yeah, these are like on the rougher end, I would say, but trying to
Yeah,
get the idea in. And I'm trying to make it like so another thing that I'm trying to push is to make it feel relatable and have the push the human connection. That's something that I personally really like about some artists, how it seems so connected to the human, like all the human interaction points. And it like when a prop design results in an emotional response, that's something great. Or like even a vehicle, if a vehicle, you see a vehicle design and you have an emotional response even though you don't see like any people in it or something, I would say that's kind of a good goal. And there are some artists who are like really great at this, and I totally admire it, like the human connection. That's also something that Studio Ghibli does exceptionally well, like this human element. It's just so relatable and you want to be there. Yeah. And this is like a different series, like different
those are
helmets.
amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, those are not as different in terms of silhouette, but like distributions and materials. But yeah, I want to push those a little bit more because like they look too samey from the distance. Maybe I'll mix things up. And
Yeah,
then yeah, this is like another one. But yeah, this will merge together in this kind of thing. I mean, this one looks shitty at the moment, but I'm quite happy with this one and with the other two. So, but this is how the resolution gets increased. But I have like a ton of helmets just flying around, and there's also a ton of stupid ideas in there and boring ideas. But like for example, here there some of the stuff just doesn't work, and I just ditch it and maybe
never
reuse
mind. You
parts of
are
it.
just exploring the shapes. You're exploring the shapes, and something will work, which is good. There are no bad ideas, if you ask me. There are just ideas that are on the road to success. No stupid questions, no stupid ideas. They are all always good because you are riding on them, and you're finally get to one that works.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I keep all of those because sometimes you just go like in the moment you think, oh, that sucks, but in the end, turns out to be not as bad, and then it's good to be able to recover it. I mean, it's pretty much standard for everyone, but also like stepping away from a design. So I did this one,
Yeah,
but now I'm looking at it a few months later. I think it's really 50-50 ish, like the distribution. It's just a little bit too boring, I'd say. So I will probably include another element in here that breaks this 50-50 balance of the design. So
yeah. Very cool. I love this that you showed. So I have one more question before we finish. The question is where the teal is moving. Where are you going? In which direction would you like to move with your career?
with my career, like my career is the most troll thing ever because like in art at least because there's like zero consistent. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm working with my two friends, and like we're building our indie games, and I'm more of a game developer actually, like core game design and developing. And this is something that is just really fulfilling at the moment, and there's a lot of fun, and we have like full creative freedom, and we can push the ideas that we want. And it's like a game is something that just comes alive, like whenever you do like a model or whatever, or a script, or it just comes to life, and it's something there's something very satisfying about it, for me at least. So this is where I spend most of my time, and this is also why because there's my role in our company is more on the technical side. So I need to compensate this by doing art. This is why I have the energy for it. And then I will do like some freelance work every now and then. But there's like zero, there's not like a lot of consistency. And it's also, I don't know, I really admire people, maybe also like you, who really focus down and really push their skill to the maximum and get super efficient and super reliable. And I mean, you probably build up some very solid connections to clients. And yeah, so this is something that for me is very limited, because I'm always like, yeah, are you fine with like a day a week, or like or like 2 days a week? So there's no consistency for me to be able to be like a reliable resource, because most of my time is spent in the indie game development that I'm happy with. But yeah, so I can't really tell. I mean, my dream would be that our indie games that this flourishes, and that our company stays sustainable, and that we still have like the full creative freedom. And yeah, but this is something that needs a lot of work. Like building up this company needs a lot of work, and we need to learn a little bit more about game design and also packaging. Like that's a huge part of it. Like coming up with a good scope, a good package, a good yeah, just a good product. It's about designing the product as well, and not just coming up with like the super cool fantasy or whatever. So this is really hard. But yeah, ideally, I'll keep the art stuff as like a thing that I still push, and maybe that can also influence the games in some way. I mean, what I'm doing is super useless for like indie game stuff, because there's no way that you're going to.
Don't say that. Don't say
Yeah,
that.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, there's no way that one of these assets that I'm designing moves directly this way into one of our games, because so many resources would be blown just to create this single thing. Like for me to model it, I'll get headaches. I mean, with all the organic shapes. I mean, you're a master at ZBrush, but I've never touched it actually. That's also like something I want to cover, because it just makes sense for me, I guess. But yeah, I can't really know yet. But I'm pushing the indie game development side of things. That would be like my best outcome for like landing a hit with one of our next games, maybe. Yeah, and being able to produce multiple games. And we have a ton of ideas. We have a ton of prototypes that we are currently pushing. So would be great to explore all of those.
Well, that's good. I wish you luck with your indie game. Can you tell us the name of your indie studio? Is there a name of the indie studio actually?
Yeah, it's called Randwerk, and our first game that we now concluded is called Abriss, and yeah, that's kind of done. And now we are building prototypes and testing them, and that's yeah, taking all the learnings from like our first game.
And evolving them into something much better.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
we will post the link, guys. I will post the link. You will send me, please, steal the link to your indie studio so we can share it and people can see it. Yeah, it was a pleasure to have you on my podcast. I really enjoyed talking with you. And I hope this career will evolve, that you will pick up the 3D. I wish you that, and that you will develop even more your skill, because I'm sure that those designs, once you enter the 3D and you start even evolving the better, they will explode even more. It's not that they are not amazing now, but they will be even more amazing then. So Till, it was a pleasure to have you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
That was second episode of It's a DARMAR podcast. Amazing guest today. Love his work. And hit the subscribe button if you haven't. And we are continuing strong. It's a pleasure having you, Till. See you around, guys.
Bye.